Good now, revolutionaries, and welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show.
The Rise Up Morning Show.
Today is Tuesday, July 1st. Happy 1st of July, and June was a big month, wasn't it? Oh my gosh, we'll get into it in just a second, but let me say it feels so good to be back. This is your place for helpful Web3 news, commentary, answers to your crypto questions. I'm Evan, he's Alex, he's Will, and you are in the right place. If you're trying to understand Bitcoin, you're trying to understand blockchain, and increasingly, if you want to understand all things markets, because we got a new show. I'm talking about Market Watch Mondays with Suits and Satoshis and Von, aka Will Watson, and our friend Doug. So excited to see you guys live last night, man.
It was a good time.
Great show.
It was a lot of fun. It was a really fun time. It was just like the test. I hit up Von, and I was just like, Von, because that's what we call him, Von.
I'm going to text him that when I talk to him today with zero context at all.
Zero context. No, that's the thing. Everyone, Doug or Fresh or Tendrift over on Twitter, his name is Von now.
The name is on the can.
The name is on the can. The name is on the can.
Also, it's Trend Drift.
Trend Drift.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's hard for me to remember his other names when he's just Von to me in my soul.
He's always been Von.
He's always been Von vibes in the bathroom. But no, the show is great. He knows. So, I just texted Von and I was like, hey, dude, just like for tonight, no set plan or anything. Just let's just figure out what our vibe is. Like that was it, because we want this to be a weekly thing. Because Von is great with his charting and macro knowledge and all that kind of stuff. And that's what I like to talk about. And we were able to just kind of go and run with it. And an hour and a half flew by with us being able to just hit on really a lot. I'm going to need to go back and watch the recording, but it was super fluid. It was super natural. So, I mean, whenever Von hops up onto the show, it's always, he and I have very, very good, just like natural flow talking about markets and stuff. And that was able to go for a full hour and a half. So I'm very, very, very bullish on this new show of ours. And also like the viewership was great. Wasn't able to get TikTok working, but I'll get that fixed. I just need a little Evan time. We'll get that fixed. But had a great amount of people coming in, very active across YouTube and X. So that was very exciting, and I think it's gonna be a great addition.
Yeah.
So
when I joined, you were talking about gold. We were trying to look up cattle. Trading View was off. We looked at MicroStrategy, talked about how it was a bullish chart and why, among other things. And I not only laughed, I learned, and I got to see some of my favorite people. So
and a single tear rolled down my cheek as I looked on like a proud father.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say a single tear rolled down your cheek as Von was adding dolphin emojis all over the technical analysis chart to be like,
also that
the price is above the tide as the dolphin breaches the water into a happy SeaWorld-esque trick, and now it's below the water line searching for fish where you're doing your buys before it explodes once more. Yeah, no, it was great.
Darcy blows. If you want to catch that episode, the recording is live now on our YouTube. You can go to the little live tab. I'm going to create its own playlist, Market Watch Mondays. And you can also catch it on X at Rums HQ. It's right there on the timeline. I'm a little bit behind in terms of uploading our episodes from last week, but I will upload those, and I will upload this to podcast land. We got to make a little thumbnail for Market Watch Mondays now.
We do.
And if you want to tune in, that's going to be 7 p.m. Central Monday nights, right, Will? It's 8 a.m.
Correct.
8 Eastern. Yep.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with me and Doug Von. And we're going to try to make it every Monday. We might have to move it for every now and again, but we'll make the announcement.
Yeah. And if you want the announcement, the place you've got to be is the Rise Up Discord server, New Portmanteau. You know that we're live Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. You know that we're live Wednesday night at 7 p.m., and now Monday night at 7 p.m. But did you know that the Rise Up Morning Show lives 24/7 in the Rise Up Discord server at discord.gg/riseup? It is our temporary forever home as we complete the circle community where everything we have will live. But until that time, it's a great place to connect with somebody, to ask a question, share what you know. We say rise up together. It's totally free to join. The only thing missing is you. And you can get the link at the riseupmorningshow.com. We've even got a tutorial there. And while I'm talking about the Rise Up Morning Show, let me just say a quick shout out to our friends at Polygon. The Rise Up Morning Show is powered by Polygon. And last week, the official conference sponsor of the show was Aptos. So big shout out to Polygon, big shout out to Aptos, and big show today. I've already said that. We've got to talk about Katana going live. We've got to talk about Kraken launching stock trading on chain. We've got to talk about Robinhood launching their own layer 2, ETH and Sol staking, and I have a whole scrapbook of stuff to share from my time in New York at Permissionless. So I don't know that we're going to be able to fit it all in, but where do you guys want to start? And speaking of you guys, of course I'm talking to you, whether you're listening now and in the future. If you've got a question, don't hesitate to leave it at one of our social channels or write it on the back of a $20 bill and mail it to us. Guys, where should we start?
I feel like we should start with the conference and get your general take on it while it's as fresh as possible.
Agreed.
That sounds good. Okay. The conference, Permissionless. It was a wild and wonderful time. Where do I begin? We kicked off the week. I left Monday. Did I leave Monday? I've been gone for a whole week, it seems like. In New York, the conference Permissionless was in Industry City, which is like the west side of Brooklyn. And I couldn't have had a better hotel. The Quality Inn down the street was quality. So shout out Lily and all the folks there who hooked me up, helped me check in early. The air condition was on point. It was the hottest single week in like 20 years in New York City. And boy, did I feel it. Walking to the conference center every day was like, but man, once you got there, check this out. And if you want to see the screen share, because I am going to share a scrapbook, you got to go over to YouTube. The Rise Up Morning Show is on YouTube, and you can see these pictures there. It was a hot day, but Uniswap came in swinging. They brought refreshments. They had this incredible little coffee truck set up. Alex, I don't know if you can spot what kind of vehicle that is.
Oh, that's cool.
It's like some weird Euro van.
That's a custom something.
And speaking of custom somethings, check this out. They had these incredible jumpsuits on the people who were working the stand.
Epic.
They had probably, for everybody who was at the conference, I really think Uniswap had the very best merch and swag. Their branding is always on point. But I caught up with Joseph Alessio, who does some of their branded merchandise. He designed the uniforms. And I also caught up with my friend Ty and my friend Nico, who had the genius idea to create Uniswappy, a true top signal. I think it was an homage to Topps trading cards with 25 crypto Twitter influencers, everybody from Vitalik and CZ to, as you can see here on the picture, our friend Brett, aka Bread Guy. I pulled one of these holographic bread cards and asked him to sign it because, you know, it was like one of 5 in the pack. He was pretty thrilled. Isn't that wild? There's only 5. Awesome. He got one. I got the other one. So there's 3 floating out in the wild somewhere. And I did bring back a bunch of Uniswap card packs that we can give away as maybe prizes on Rise Up After Dark.
Mostly to me.
And somehow Will is going to win all the prizes.
Will is going to win all the prizes. But it was a really cool installation. They had him set up in this like ice cream stand. And at first I was like, oh shit, Uniswap brought ice cream. How cool. And then I walked over and I was only temporarily disappointed when I realized it was not a cold treat, but it was honestly something much better. I got some stickers, I got some shirts, I got some cards. And Alex, I did remember to get you one of those really fire Uniswap shirts. So stay tuned for that. Now, of course, as I mentioned, the reason that we got to be at Permissionless was because of our friends at conference sponsor Aptos. Aptos was a headline sponsor at Permissionless. And I have had a lot of chances to experience headline sponsorship. You know, you get a lounge, you get swag, you get some activations. But guys, this, no shade, no cap, whatever. this is one of the best conference sponsorships, like best use of sponsorship dollars, because first of all, Industry City is a venue. It's like 8 big buildings all in a row that used to be something else, maybe like a Sears or an apartment building or something. So it's super easy to get from one place to the other. Everything's in the air conditioning. And they had a whole story of one of these buildings to themselves in what they called Aptos Arena. So I walk into the second floor because I got to connect with Anuya. She's our contact there. She's got some people she wants me to meet and get some coverage with. And I'm looking around for Anuya, and I don't have to look far because the very first thing I see is Anuya riding this. They had a mechanical bull set up there. Naturally bullish.
Yep.
They had this killer merch station where you could make these custom Aptos branded wallets. And I may have a little surprise in my bag. There may or may not be a wallet that says bullish on it with this design with Rise Up on it for Alex. And there might just be a little giveaway for one of our friends back home too.
Yeah. I would have loved one wallet that was just like, how do you sell this thing?
I don't know how to sell this thing.
I don't know how to sell this thing. It'd be a lot on the wallet though.
Well, you would just label the wallet as my bags.
My bags, yeah.
They came with these cute little gold coins in them. And as you can see, there were like gold coins on the tray. And I walked up and I was like, oh, great. You guys got gold coins. I love gold coins. And I started to unwrap it. And the guy was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. We'll put one in your wallet. He was like, don't eat all the gold coins, man. He saw me coming. And Aptos had a big sponsorship at this conference because if you saw the news or you didn't, we'll catch you up on it. But they made a big announcement from the main stage. This is a CEO Avery Ching on the left and Saurabh Singh of Jump Crypto on the right. Jump, if you don't know, has brought a lot of high speed, high throughput crypto infrastructure to life. And they announced from the main stage the launch of a new Aptos ecosystem product called Shelby. And the TLDR, if you don't know, is Shelby is a data availability solution. Aptos is already very fast. It's been live for 3 years, super cheap, easy to use. They've got the Move language under the hood so that you are shipping secure contracts more quickly, built for blockchain. But the problem with any blockchain, even Aptos right now, is that while your data lives on chain, if you want to like query it, get it to do something, sign a transaction, send it back and forth, that's still very cumbersome. A lot of people ask, when is Web3 going to happen? Well, it's going to happen when somebody solves this problem of not just putting data on chain, but making that data available to use in applications. So Shelby is a real-time, they call it hot data availability solution, meaning that you can power an application like a video game where the actions are on chain, or you can have an AI bot with a data set that is on chain that you can query. So you can get all the benefits of it being blockchain, being crypto, including privacy protection, but they're cooking. Greg taught a really cool workshop about Move, and everybody was talking about how they were going to integrate the language, the kind of projects they were incubating, and we will have more about Shelby on the show later. But for now, what you need to know if you want to check the ticker out is it is Shelby. Shelby.xyz. We had a whole episode with Greg too last week. He was kind enough to join us from the arena and talk a little about it, but stay tuned. We'll have more, especially, excuse me, as they go live. They're in an alpha now. You can sign up for that, but more coming. Okay. Shut up and play the record. Aptos had great merch. Uniswap had great merch. Supra was one of the headline sponsors. They also had some killer merch. I got 1 or 2 of these packs that had like a couple of decks of cards, some cool keychains and stickers. So I will be probably raffling some of those off too. At the conference, that was the highlight for me, the Shelby talk. After the conference, at the side events, the people were the highlight for me. This is a very high signal conference. It was easy to get from one building to the other, easy to get from...
what do you mean when you say high signal?
High signal, that's a good question. You ever turn on a radio and it's very noisy and you're tuning the channel and then eventually you hear the radio station hopping and bopping from the top of the pops? That's signal. You're connected to a good signal. Everything else, that's just noise. Some events are low signal, meaning there's a lot of static. It's difficult to get good quality stuff. A high signal event is one where it's loud and clear. You're in touch with the right people. You're getting the right information. And That's exactly what this was. Everybody hosted great side events all over the city. I got the chance to catch up with our friend Aishwari and Mark at a dinner they hosted celebrating Katana and bringing some ecosystem builders together. At that dinner, they had folks from Katana, they had AgLayer folks, they had ecosystem folks, they had Gauntlet was there. One of the cooler people that I got to meet was at the Block Space Mansion. This is a thing that Polkadot does every single conference they go to. They put up a killer like co-working space. Usually there's cool lights. Often it's Polkadot themed. And on Monday, your boy got to help them hang up this balloon arch. And I was at their party. And I was standing in line when a fellow introduced himself to me. He was really friendly. And he said, "You mind if I stand with you in line?" I said, "No problem." And we started talking. "What do you do? Where do you work?" His name's Josh Hudson. And he said, "A little protocol you've probably never heard of. We do stablecoins over on Polygon." I said, "No way." He said, "Yeah, Agora Finance." And I said, "Oh my gosh, you guys are providing the liquidity for the AgLayer." And he was like, "Yeah, you know us?" I was like, "Brother, we know you." So we're going to have somebody from Agora come on the show, talk about the flywheel that they're building. And I don't know, there's just so much more. I connected with Himu, our friend of the show.
Yeah, Himu.
I got a picture with the Katana mascot holding this. Look at this Katana. It's got flames on it.
It's very cyberpunky.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when Rise Up...
Also, wait, just look at those eyes.
One of my favorite side events was hosted by Pith. They had a killer rooftop party in downtown Brooklyn, right underneath the Brooklyn Bridge.
You're so Brooklyn in this picture. It's
I feel
unreal.
very Brooklyn in this picture. And then speaking of Brooklyn, you know, crypto is everywhere there. Uniswap had a beautiful campaign on the street. This is your brain on rugs. Remember, only you can prevent slippage.
That's really good.
Isn't it killer?
Yeah.
So, you know, it was a great week of crypto, a great week of friendship. There was a little churro in it for me. At the very end of the week, kind of the last highlight of my trip personally is, this is really weird. I've been following this band called Creaky Boards since 2007. I saw them in a coffee shop in Frankenmuth, Michigan. And
dude, shout out Frankenmuth.
Shout out Frankenmuth mentioned. And
Bullshit.
Their lead singer, Andrew Hopfner, is a performance artist like me, and he's been up and down and all around. And he has an event space in Brooklyn. And I was like, "Hey, man, I'm going to be in town. I would love to connect and finally meet you." And he's like, "We're having a party Saturday." And I was like, "Well, I'm flying out Saturday." I will spare you the story, except to say I was sitting on a plane ready to take off when they started.
A crazy turn of events. Evan got shafted by the airline.
Yeah, but I thought it was going to be okay at first. They started offering people these vouchers, you know, a gift card of your choice to get off the plane. And the numbers kept getting higher. And I was like, you know what? They're going to book me in a hotel. They're going to pay me. They're going to feed me. I can get off this plane and go to this party and stay in New York one more day. So I call Andrew. I get the address and set the scene. We're in Bushwick. All these, like, you know, multicultural neighborhoods next to a bunch of rich white loft artists. And in the basement of this Bushwick church is this weird, dreamy, like hippie industrial space where you feel like you're not walking into quite the right spot, but you're in the right place. Andrew hosted this party with music, mobile tattoo artists, sound baths, story readings, conversation with people from all over the world, including somebody we got to get on the show. This is Maximum Margin Xiao. She is a Google data scientist who trains their AI models, and she had this incredible performance that she put on this like wall of TVs there called Mansplain. Men Explain It to Me, and it was a notebook, Google's LLM podcast of men explaining things to women. And I even got to record one with her. She was like, "Will you explain something to me?" So I explained to her how Bitcoin works. It was fantastic. It was cool to connect with friends. It was cool to celebrate a birthday. And it was a very Brooklyn thing to do after a big week of crypto conferences. The last thing I want to mention is I also got to participate in some of the events around NFT NYC and not NFT NYC. Alex, you'll remember a couple years ago, we went to NFT NYC, and it was kind of a bust of a conference. Starting, of course, with the fact that the badges These like flimsy papery tickets were easy to forge and fake. And I may or may not know a couple of people who impersonated VIP status in order to speak to the people they wanted at the conference. Who can imagine? But Not NFT NYC is an event that's been going, I think, for 4 years and is a more curated thing at a place called the Producers Club. And I got to tell you, oh, there it is. There it is. The flimsy paper badge upgrade. If it was an NFT, that wouldn't be a problem, guys.
You literally just...
That's it. That's it.
Wow.
Hear the flims. So Not NFT NYC was like an if you know kind of thing. They had several super high signal panels, including one I got to be on. And this is a picture with Joe the Sandman Mangram's alter ego. That's his ape. Joe Mangrum was one of the quality people there that I hope to have on the show. This guy is an artist who's been active for decades, and he builds these like ephemeral structures. Sand is his specialty, sort of his medium of choice, in specific places to usually make political or artistic commentary. And the artworks, they just blow away, fade away. But he does cool Onchain stuff. We're going to have him on the show. There's so many good people coming on the show that are building cool things. And this maybe seems like an appropriate time to sort of transition to some of the things our friends are building, because it was a busy week at the conference with all the announcements about Shelby, et cetera. And
Sorry, I just had to add this because this is cool.
Oh my God, read it out.
Joe is also an artist on Sesame Street. That's sick.
What?
Bullish.
Joe, how come you didn't tell me, brother? That is wild. That was our friend Lore, who was one of the producers of the event, along with Eddie and Britt. They put together that, like I say, it was another very high signal event. Honestly, the panels at Permissionless were just okay. I didn't even go to the panels at NFT NYC. Permissionless is more about announcements, more about companies at the very center of our space telling you like the big thing that's coming next, which is important and is cool. But if you wanted we had a panel on like stablecoins and the trends that are coming in the next years in crypto. There was a fantastic panel of about AI, how people are using it, how we're going to continue to use it. And it was, get this, it was 4 women moderated by Britt, shout out. But they didn't ever say this is a women in Web3 panel. They didn't waste any time on that nonsense. They just had 4 incredibly smart, compassionate, tuned in women telling you how it is with AI. And it was everything from like, are you polite to your AI? Why? How can you have a more human AI, from somebody who's tuning one to respond to help you like use it as a mirror to grow and reflect, from somebody else who was very concerned about like data sovereignty and privacy. So it was, shout out to the Not NFT NYC conference produced by All of Us Radio, but it was a big, wild, wonderful week. And
so I didn't miss much is what you're telling me.
Yeah. Alex, oh my God. I was resisting the urge to tempt Alex all the time to be like currently getting in the pool on a rooftop with our friend, Katie from Pith, or, with Angie. I got to hang out a lot with Angie, Josh at Agora. I mean, it was just hit after hit after hit after hit of all these cool people. But
cool.
I missed you guys. I really did. I really did. And
crying inside.
I would have enjoyed 2 days of that. I mean, I wouldn't say I would have enjoyed the whole thing, but I would have been tired.
I didn't sleep the last 2 days. The Brooklyn party night, I did not sleep. And then last night I did not sleep. It was
after the first day and you hopped on real quick to chat with us, your voice was already going. And I was like, oh no, he's got like 5 more days of this.
The voice rallied though. We made it, me and my voice.
Yeah, you did. You held the line.
Yeah. Thank God it's over. But thank God we got to go. That's what I said to everyone all week. I said, I really wasn't looking forward to coming, but now that I'm here, this is the best place to be. Also, Dennis Rodman made an appearance, one of many NBA players who's like dabbling in crypto. And he was at an event just down the block from me. And I was such a goob. I was in a conversation with the Uniswap people, so I didn't go. But then I was like, oh my God, I could be the one who onboards Dennis Rodman to Tall DAO. But he was no longer there when I left.
He'd be the tallest on the Tall DAO.
I think he might be close. I actually think we might have somebody who's like 6'11".
Jesus.
They're tall in Tall DAO. Anyway, that's what we've got going on. At Permissionless. Thanks again to Aptos. And we'll have more good content about Shelby. We'll have more of their folks on the show to tell you what they're doing. But for now, that's it. You want to switch gears and see what our friends over at Katana have been up to since we mentioned it?
Let's do it. Katana mainnet, baby.
Katana mainnet, baby. If you want to play along, you can go to app.katana.network. And when you get there, what you will see is a new interface. It's no longer about crates. It's now about depositing and earning. Alex, you sent a message yesterday. What's the yield right now, and what's the situation?
Yeah, so if you go down and check out that USDC vault and just hover over the little info tab for it there. Nope. Down. There's a lot of infos. There you go. Oh, you might have to connect before it reads.
What did I do? Hang on. I'll connect a wallet while you tell us about give me a little teaser on it.
Yeah, so these are, as I understand it, combined yield between the thing that you're providing and CAT. So, once you get in there and deposit something, if you deposited USDC or something else during crate season, you will see that now reflected on this dashboard, which, whatever thing it was that you were supplying. And the APY, for example, under that Yearn USDC vault, that it will read out to you is just a casual 35%.
It's nuts.
Yeah. 35%. Okay, let's see.
And I think Matthew was telling me that the combo percentage, it's the same as it was on Turtle. Someone fact check me if I'm remembering or misquoting this.
Fact check yourself, brother.
There's 7 to 8% in USDC and then a significant chunk in CAT. So another good way to earn yield as we're waiting. If you're also staking Paul anywhere on chain, not on Coinbase or something like that, somewhere in a wallet, then there will be also an allocation there via airdrop, but you can increase that by supplying.
Great comment from Keith here, who says, I wish Katana didn't sound so much like Cardano.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it a little bit, but it's been so long since Cardano was in the news for anything that I feel like in my head the connection is waning.
To me, it doesn't sound this like I see how it can sound the same, but it doesn't feel the same to me. I feel like there's enough of a difference. Yeah.
So just for fun, I'm clicking through this, and it is quite fast. It does appear to be quite cheap. I am sending some Anchor Matic that I have staked over to receive a little YVVB USDC. And can I just say, with all these on-chain products, you're going to have QX USDC and YX USDC and ABC USDC. Like, that is going to be something that we're going to need to figure out sometime soon.
Eddie asks if already got USDC into Katana, you mean through the pre-deposits? If that's the case, then yes, it is now in that vault, or being supplied via that Yearn curated USDC vault. Yes. So yeah, and if you go in and connect that same wallet and look at the dashboard on Katana's homepage, it should be reflected and you should be able to see it there.
I can also see my CAT tokens. Mm-hmm. They have been allocated to me. And I'll need to click a little more around this dashboard. I see they have a coming soon, earn with Morpho, swap with Sushi, but it looks like they're cooking and underway, which is very cool because they had a real goal to launch before the end of the month. And they almost missed it. Let me see. What you got?
Here, keep going. I'll toss up the screen share here.
While he tosses up the screen share, I was just going to say I saw a message from Mark saying, who's going to put the pedal to the metal to get that TPS number up there? So they probably will continue to offer good incentives, good yield for a little while, because now what they want that they're live is to try and break the platform. And they need liquidity. You'll see them say liquidity, 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 because they want to put this money to work, because that's their whole thesis is they want to make everything interoperable.
Well, that liquidity is coming. If you're offering 35% interest on USDC, you're gonna get it, and you're a layer 2 solution on the Ethereum ecosystem. There's a lot of money that's very experienced at hunting for high APY. That money's coming.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
What are we looking at here, Alex?
So this was just through their ecosystem, and there's just a bunch of stuff. Like this is a solid place to go discover new things that you can potentially mess with and become a user of. And there's a lot. There's a lot of choices there. So this would be like if you were looking for a piece of homework to sit down and plink around with something, this would be it. Like I'm a big fan of these ecosystem exploration tools. Every like major ecosystem should have one. And you should be able to then, you know, follow them out. I mean, here, I haven't done a single one. Let's pick a random one. Evan, pick anything.
How about Charm at the top left? I just liked that name. Charm Finance. And I will say from my experience, like, you know, seeing other launches, that's a lot of apps on launch.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like dozens. Some chains like this will only launch with one or two kind of things, but that's a pretty impressive cohort that they've incubated there. So
no, it's a significant number, especially if these things are live and you could actually do something on any of them. That's pretty sweet.
And there's that word again, liquidity.
Mm-hmm.
The liquidity super app.
So some sort of liquidity manager. Permissionless vaults. Okay. I mean, sounds like lots of things.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of, I know Glider is not a vault, but it almost sounds like something that Glider is doing, like deposit money, build a strategy, deploy your yield, or like Uniswap V4. A lot of DeFi companies are doing this sort of custom thing now. It used to be before they'd have a vault there curated by somebody like Gauntlet that automatically told you what assets to deposit. And this looks to be more like you could do that. Mm-hmm. But if I'm reading what they said on their homepage right, you could also set up your own vaults, meaning you can do the DeFi backend and kind of put it together like Legos if you want to create a new DeFi opportunity that you or other people can participate in.
Yeah, so everything here at least looks to be double-sided, which is worth noting the difference there just because it can require a little bit more maintenance on your behalf as a provider. But there's one stable pair here that I can see. I think that's the only one. Which, as you said, Evan, there's the Agora USD, AUSD, and then USDC as a pair, but looks like it's not really active yet. So this feels super fresh.
Yeah.
Definitely something in here, but not much.
No, and again, they're probably looking for liquidity, and so there probably will be extra incentives for people to use this kind of stuff. They might have a token in the future, so using this could make you eligible for an airdrop.
Yeah, that is definitely like one of the ways that you can kind of, you know, navigate throughout all of this sort of stuff. Like Evan just said, hunt for airdrop potentials by testing out these things. I have like a little pile of stablecoins that I kind of use to shop around, and I'll, you know, park them somewhere and, you know, test out, see the experience, feel what it's like to, you know, supply here, deposit there, lend there, swap here, whatever. And the whole time I'm at least getting a mark on my on-chain resume, as I call it, saying that like, hey, I used this protocol at this time, whatever, I was an early user or something, even if I don't stick around and become a power user by any stretch or whatever, still, you know, check the box that I did the thing, used the thing, supplied to the thing, whatever the thing is. And then that way, if they do some sort of airdrop, I never get a ton because, like I said, I don't sit there and like do it over and over again and farm it. But I've gotten a bunch of little itty bitty airdrops kind of throughout the years, just as someone who did a thing over here for a little bit, you know.
A couple of comments to highlight quickly from the chat. And the first one I absolutely have to highlight is from Tattoo King, who says, can William not come on here looking all Magnum PI trying to steal the chat's wives?
No, has to.
Sorry.
Anyways, is a coin wrapped a good thing? I think it says you can stake Bitcoin wrapped. Is that true? So, Will, what is a wrapped asset? And Alex, can you verify if we can stake any kind of wrapped Bitcoin on Katana, or maybe that was Charm?
Yeah, a wrapped asset is it's in short, it is taking an asset from one ecosystem that can't natively belong or operate on another ecosystem and allowing it to do so. So you can take wrapped Bitcoin is probably the most famous example. We also have wrapped Ethereum as well. But you can take Bitcoin. Bitcoin operates on the Bitcoin network. If you take Bitcoin and send it to the wrong address, it's gone forever. But if you take Bitcoin and you wrap it onto like WBTC or CBBTC, there are a couple different variations also. You can then have Bitcoin exist within the Ethereum ecosystem and do DeFi with it and do stuff like that. So
Beautiful.
That's it in short.
Alex, I'm actually going to rug you. It is on Katana that Bitcoin is coming, thanks to Lombard Finance. We maybe have mentioned Lombard on the show before. They're a relatively new company that is trying to bring Bitcoin into DeFi. And what they're doing is they're creating the technical wrappers so that protocols like Katana can offer staking. You can't stake your Bitcoin. But if you wrap it up into Lombard Bitcoin on the Polygon network, which is a proof of stake network, then you can allocate those tokens, we say staking, to validators, and then earn a yield for that work, basically by holding Bitcoin. The reason you would do that is you might hold Bitcoin already. You don't want to swap it to ETH. You don't want to swap it to Sol. You don't want to swap it to something else that you'd stake. You want it to stay Bitcoin. So you need a wrapper for it. But the wrapper allows it to, one, function as Bitcoin for you, go up and down in value as Bitcoin does. And two, it allows the protocol to get it in a format that will help it to be useful in staking. And with something like Katana, the reason they keep harping on liquidity is if they've got Lombard telling people you can wrap your Bitcoin up and put it to work here, and they've got people from ETH mainnet coming to wrap their assets up and use them on Polygon proof of stake, and those people want their assets back, or people want to move those assets somewhere else, they need to have enough cash. Liquidity is just like cash to be able to cover those movements without affecting the operations of their protocol or business. So a good opportunity, and it sounds like more opportunities are coming soon. LBTC is the ticker for Lombard BTC. It looks like they're also going to have BTCK, and I think they will be compatible maybe with CBBTC, which is Coinbase's wrapped Bitcoin product, but I can't find to confirm that.
Mm-hmm. So couple worthy points. So is there a risk to that other than the volatility of the particular wrapping? There are risks, of course. There's risks with literally everything. The volatility of the wrapping is not probably what I would call as the most common risk. I don't know, Evan, if you guys have a different answer. I would say it probably all comes down to who's doing the wrapping and what the custody looks like and what the lockup and what the bridge is and what your options are. Because I mean, of course you could put something in a shitty wrapper and send it to a shitty place and then that place go under, and then wherever the stuff was being custodied to then be wrapped and stored over there or used over there gets called into question, then all of a sudden that's all sketchy. So the wrapping itself is not inherently volatile in like a price sense, but in a stability sense for sure. If you wrap your Bitcoin on some fringe network that's offering some crazy yield farming opportunity and you take that risk, and then in order to wrap it there, it has to be deposited here, there, wherever, and then that becomes a problem, then there you go. There's a risk. Yeah,
since we're talking about bridges, let me bring the bicycle and the ferry back into it. If you have a bicycle, okay, and you're riding around town and you notice you're in New York or somewhere and there's a body of water and there's a big, beautiful piece of land on the other side, and you're like, wow, I'd like to go explore that piece of land. I've got to take a ferry to get there, and I'd like to have my bicycle. A wrapped token is basically like parking your bicycle for the promise that the ferry company is going to give you a bicycle you can use on the other side. You put your Bitcoin up with Lombard or with Coinbase as collateral. They give you a token you can use like that bicycle on the other side of the water. They're expecting you to bring it back to them in order to get your original bike back. If you don't bring it back to them because you put it in a bad investment, you trade it away, you lose the keys, something like that, your bicycle stays locked up, your Bitcoin stays locked up. Similarly, if you're over there and I don't know, it's a crime-ridden neighborhood with lots of earthquakes and hailstorms, and your loaner bicycle gets destroyed or gets caught in the mud and you can't get it out, like those are the risks. Where are you going and what are you choosing to do when you get there? But they're going to lock your bike up on the other side and take good care of it, mostly. But maybe they don't. I don't know. Maybe somebody,
in theory.
In theory. So those are the kind of risks you could think about. It's like taking your bike across a body of water on a ferry.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Okay, so more to come on Katana. We will keep up with it. And if you've got more questions about it, be sure to let us know. I'd love to see them maybe in the Discord, because we'll have to do a tutorial or something like that. And we definitely got to catch up with some of our friends in the Polygon ecosystem. More thoughts on Katana, or do you want to move on and quick hit? I feel like, Will, it would be a good setup to do some of the Kraken, some of the Coinbase Kraken news, Robinhood news, and then maybe you can give us a little macro update to tell us what actions we can be thinking about as the week unfolds. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I'm curious to watch about with Katana, just my final thoughts moving
Please.
forward, is just like how much mind share it can actually grab. On Twitter, it has a decent bit, but like on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube, and the likes, because it's hyper liquid everywhere. That's the media darling, and for good reason, of the DeFi space. So I'm curious to see how much of that pie Katana can potentially start carving out. We'll see more and more people talk about it other than ourselves outside of Twitter, because I don't know. I'm not super as closely tied into crypto influencers across all media platforms and that. I think you guys are more so than me. I really haven't seen a lot of people talk about Katana outside of Twitter. Then there's ourselves, but I'm curious to see just like how much of that social mind share Katana is able to start grabbing as that TVL starts climbing, because I do expect it to climb.
I think one of the things that contributes there, and I'm going to get a little shady, is just that as we get into stuff like Katana, the conversation becomes less and less and less about a token that you can just pretend you understand so that you can chill and try to make a price prediction about, and more about a protocol that requires you to like use something and learn a new skill. And if I've learned anything, it's that people who create content about crypto are generally allergic to studying and don't enjoy like learning. We don't crack books. I mean, like, my biggest shade throw would be to Altcoin Daily, who was like one of my first channels that I ever followed. And then after a couple of years, I just realized like, oh my God, these guys have like never tried to deepen their understanding of the stuff they talk about every day. They are still on square one where they have been for years, because making price predictions and vague platitudes about cryptocurrency tokens is doing it. So Katana is a platform and a protocol that you need to use and do stuff with. It's the same reason I think that you never really hear about people talking about really borrowing. Like, how insane is it that the passive income niche on TikTok, which is humongous, never talks about liquidity providing or borrowing and lending or any kind of DeFi, which is quite literally the definition of passive income. Like, there are people here who will tell you that running a vending machine business is passive income, but have never once mentioned anything about supplying a stablecoin on a decentralized lending protocol, which is passive income. So I think that a lot of it just comes down to the fact that most people just don't understand it and refuse to take the time to, because it's hard work.
Well, it is hard work, and there are a lot of pitfalls, man. I don't blame them.
It's a lot of hard work. Yeah, I mean, how much time do we spend? And it's not nearly enough.
But that's kind of the journey. Is we'll play with Katana a little. We will talk to different people across the ecosystem. I think it'd be nice to have somebody from Ag Layer specifically on the show. We're going to have our friend Evan McMullen, who's building billions, a different kind of product, but that will benefit from the evolution of this ecosystem. And then I cannot wait to get the Agora Finance people on, because, Matthew in the Discord was asking some really good questions about why wouldn't you use USDC or USDT, a more established stablecoin? And we won't get into it now, but there's a lot of strategy happening there. And this is a kind of good class to take in your graduate education of cryptocurrency, to go through the launch of a DeFi protocol on a major chain that is its own network, that has an incubated ecosystem of products, including a stablecoin. Like, there's so many, just like tick that off the list, that every time something new happens in crypto going forward, you're going to have a really strong benchmark to compare. Like, I don't know, even if, I hope it doesn't happen, but even if a comet strikes the Polygon offices everywhere all around the globe, and like this protocol ceases to exist for the next year, this is going to be a really good case study that's going to set you up to understand so many things across DeFi, across crypto, etc. So excited about it.
Before we move on too hard, there was one question from earlier just about Marinade and why the APY has dropped, and can answer that one really quick. So there's a number of factors that contribute to what the APY is on any staking platform. This is not specific to Marinade at all, but they're a fine example. So the first big one is just the number of people staking. Like, as more and more people stake, the natural, like baked in tokenomics economics of a chain have to adjust to compensate. You can't keep the same percentage being paid out to everyone if you quadruple the number of people who are supplying or staking that cryptocurrency to that network, because the network can't accommodate that much getting paid out. Mitigated often by the inflation of the token. So if a bunch more people come in, so if you're watching TVL or staked volume or whatever of a network continue to rise and the APY never changes, that is a very good indication that there is an inflation problem that you may want to be aware of. Because again, what do we always say when you're earning interest from anywhere? Make sure you understand where that interest is coming from. And if you cannot identify the source of the yield, it's coming from you. So that, I would just say right off the bat, if it's starting to drop because more people are staking, this is a good thing. Now, Solana does... Go ahead.
I just was going to let people know in podcast land, hello, we hope your candles are green, that I've got the chart up on the screen share from DeFi Llama that will show you their TVL over time and their APY over time. And I'll let you continue and you can describe it if you want. I just want people to know it's there.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, there are some great charting and visuals that you can get on DeFi Llama for this kind of stuff, just to help track the inflows, the ebbs and flows of money in and around all this kind of stuff. But so like I said, know where the yield is coming from. If staking volume is increasing and yield is dropping, that's a good thing. Solana does have some inflation as a currency, as a token. So that can help mitigate it some, and you would want to know what that is. And fortunately, with a network the size of Solana, that inflation rate is very published, and you can look it up. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head. Will, I know you talked about it not too long ago, but it's there. It's easier to look up. The other thing that can... and then of course there's a whole bunch of different like little nuanced things that can contribute to available APY changing. Behavior of the validators and the delegators. You know, if a huge pool gets slashed, then that could impact stuff. If everyone is behaving and everyone's doing the right thing, then again, it can drop as more people get onboarded and do stuff. There are also just more... There we go. So yeah, the epic lengths and the block structures and all that kind of stuff, which is now starting to get outside of my particular area of expertise, but is honestly a great homework assignment to chat with, like the Perplexity or the ChatGPT research assistants that we've been training and stuff. That's probably where I would go to like deepen this. But if you look up or ask one of these LLMs, like what can contribute to a staking protocol's APY dropping or increasing, you will get a really nice bullet point list of like 5 or 6 different key contributing factors, and then any single one of those that you want to explore, especially the little bit more techie ones that I'm not qualified to give you a lecture on.
We actually have 2 good questions that will keep us in this land just a little bit longer that I'd like to answer from our friend Apple. Good to see you, brother. As per his question above, which I didn't see, I'm just skipping to this one. Sorry. Is 35% too high for Katana? Mm-hmm. What's the source of the money? Are they making even more? Because, you know, we're talking about yield here. Yeah. And in the case of Katana specifically, Polygon is doing a lot of what we would call loss leading in order to incentivize the liquidity they need to make ag layer work, to make Polygon the place for stablecoin payments, to make it the leading L2, to create transaction volume. And the reason that they're okay to do that is because if they can capture that, then it won't matter that they've given pieces of the pie away, because they've effectively grown the pie. This is why, for example, they're partnering with Agora, a new stablecoin. As I said, we'll get into that later. Instead of operating with USDC, who gives away 50% of their revenue to Coinbase, or USDT, who is not compliant in a couple places like the US and doesn't really want to share the yield with anybody. The bet they're taking is the one I kind of argued with William Quigley about, where they're going to give you the yield that they would earn as revenue in order to incentivize people to park their money in that stablecoin and park that stablecoin with them, because their real job, the real goal that they're after is usage. They call it active liquidity. Mark Boyron is on a rant every day on Twitter talking about TVL doesn't matter. What matters is useful TVL. a lot of TVL, total value locked, is just that. It's locked. It's money sitting somewhere on a network that's not really doing anything. And every second it's not doing something, it's losing an opportunity to accrue value to someone. Their goal is useful TVL, meaning every moment it's being swapped for something else. It's creating liquidity in new places across different chains. People are using it to pay each other. They're using it to secure a network. They're using it. And if they use it, it will have velocity. It will accrue value. And they can share some of that value with the users because as a protocol, if they accrue more value, eventually they'll make their money. That's the bet they're making. So this yield comes from, one, money they have allocated to this purpose. Some of this money, this happens a lot in crypto, is just, we raised a bunch of money. We're going to do an airdrop. We have allocated like $10 million to provide liquidity for that token. We know some people are going to sell it. That's one of the reasons they lock these Katana tokens up for up to, I think it's up to 9 months. They can be unlocked anytime. But what they're trying to do is become a magnet for liquidity so that when they are unlocked, everybody selling isn't just going to tank the price. Very different from maybe like a VC-backed altcoin that doesn't have a leading layer 2 ecosystem behind it, that doesn't have dozens of projects incubated, that doesn't have hundreds of millions of dollars of TVL from day one. But it's kind of hard to, like, I don't know, guys, help me out and communicate.
It's the gamble that you take as a network to incentivize early adopters by paying for yield yourself, in the hope that by doing that, you will have attracted enough people to keep enough people there when that pile of money that you are paying those increased yields out from is no longer available.
Yeah, and the yields will not last.
Yeah, the yields won't last. And like Crypto Glenn brings up some concerns that are valid for 99% of organizations, I feel like, that take this strategy. Because at the end of the day, what matters is once your marketing budget, if you will, I'm just going to call it that, your marketing budget dries up and that initial APY of 35% ends, it's about like where you fall to. And like Katana's whole plan is using their system in order to maintain higher APYs by going through, oh gosh, Evan and Alex, you guys could explain. It's more top of mind for you as I'm kind of coming back to the crypto world after a week and a half. But their entire system is about having higher APYs, and maybe you guys can explain how that works again. So it's about understanding where that 35% for that one USDC vault falls and how the competitive that is against the rest of the market still, right? And then you understand, okay, cool, is this like here to last? Because if you look at something that has been able to do a great job of lasting for 2.5 years, it's Morpho and Morpho vaults, because they created a system that made lending and borrowing markets much more attractive and therefore higher APYs, and got adopted by Aave and all of the, I mean, so many. I can't remember all. I remember Aave is there. I think Uniswap too.
And Polygon is using that infrastructure for this.
And Polygon's using that infrastructure as well. So the marketing budget will dry up. It won't be as attractive as 35%. You get the initial influx of money coming in as people get attracted to that. And then it's about where that APY falls as a part of like the natural platform offering and how competitive that is with the rest of the market. Katanas should be very competitive and potentially in a top place to be earning interest on your USDC. We just don't know where exactly that's going to fall. So that's the key thing to kind of keep our eyes on.
They have to be able to capture both sides of it, though, because if someone like, the reason that Aave is as big as Aave is, and a bunch of other ones, have not managed to grow to that same level, is just because if you need to get a loan from somewhere, it's a lot easier to stomach the risk of supplying something somewhere than it is to stomach the risk, at least for me, of like taking money out of something and having to agree to their particular loan parameters in order to borrow. And you need both sides of that equation represented in order to actually pay out yield. Otherwise, then that yield has to come from somewhere. And whether that's from charging you a bunch of fees or cutting into profits significantly that you should be participating or reaping the benefits from or whatever, then that could be it. Otherwise, they're false and they're inflated, which is really only a problem if that's obfuscated. At this point, Katana's pretty public about the fact like, hey, this is fresh, we're juicing the shit out of this. And as we said, these APYs are split. So the APY that you're earning with USDC is what I would say is extremely in line with the top like lending and borrowing protocols, kind of that between 6 and 8%. That's pretty typical for like the high end of conservative plays.
Yeah,
and then Katana is also taking the fees generated on Katana, taking that fee revenue and pumping that back into the APY. Is it not? Like, that's the system, right?
Everything is a loss leader for them right now, but it's underneath it all is real activity and real yield, fast network, high usage, and they're doubling down on that to sustain like the flywheel of activity. Glenn made a point about Luna. Back in the day, for people who don't know, there was a protocol called Luna. It was a layer 1, and they had an algorithmic stablecoin, UST. All of this yield that we're talking about, this like 6 to 8% that Alex mentioned on USDC, we talk about it all the time, Aave Morpho. This really comes down to like, what is the opportunity for someone to earn yield on $1? If somebody's buying, treasury loans or something like that, that's what Tether does. That's what pretty much everybody in this space is doing. And there's kind of a ceiling for that. It's below 10%. But for you as an individual, a lot of these crypto companies, what they do, they buy these assets, they produce yield, and then they pass some of the reward on to you. And the reason it's good for now, even though a lot of these crypto companies function as central intermediaries, they're not as big as banks. They don't require as much overhead as banks. And so they can offer you yield at a better rate than banks because they're passing savings, et cetera, on to you. Crypto, generally speaking, is more efficient. Who gains those efficiencies? The users. Now, the difference, though, the reason I don't think it's a helpful comparison in this case is UST, the stablecoin in the Luna ecosystem, was an algorithmic stablecoin. Stablecoins can either be backed by physical assets, dollars, Bitcoin, treasury bills, that kind of stuff, or they can be backed by math. The way it worked very simply was that Luna and UST would be printed or burned in order to maintain sort of a relationship that would create a supply and demand flywheel and would help them generate this yield. But there was nothing really backing it except that math. And the math could be leveraged.
Belief in the ecosystem.
That's
which
right.
Is a very easy thing to fracture if you fuck up.
Well, and if you mess it up, then it's very hard to recover it because you're not dealing with tangible stuff. You're not
impossible.
You're not dealing with treasury bills that you can just walk out of the store and buy more of, or dollars or Bitcoin or something that you can move to a different spot. You've got to adjust a lot of variables, and they're mostly out of your control at that point. So the difference here is you've got real activity for a real network that's, if you're going to make a bet on it, and they're partnering, like I said, with a new stablecoin. So they've got a lot of control, but they've also got a lot of room to give away some value because the play that they're making is we've raised this capital, we've generated this use, we've got this money, and people are continuing to give us more. We know we're good for it. Revenue's coming in. If it stops coming, we'll be able to see that. When our raised money runs out, we'll be able to see that. And in the meantime, we're building new protocols, we're attracting new users, we're building new infrastructure. And again, it's very different from like a 3-person startup that's going to revolutionize DeFi. You're talking about Polygon, and you're talking about AgLayer, and you're talking about Katana, and you're talking about the 36 or whatever projects they've got incubated on their ecosystem. What did Ishwari say? 42% of micropayments in USDC are happening on Polygon. So if anybody's good for it, they're good for it. And I feel comfortable. We talk about risk. At least I can see and check all these boxes compared to pretty much any other company in the crypto space to say, like, if they're going to swing this bat, why not let them? It's terribly risky everywhere, but at least you can see where it's coming from. I don't know. I feel like I got off somewhere.
I think you nailed it perfectly.
Yep.
Nailed it perfectly. And then what did we say a second ago? Somebody said move something, and I was like, oh yes. If you've got a crypto question, a suggestion, or a comment, then leave it below. We love the love. I see Sai in the chat. Thanks, Glenn, for being here. To all of our regular friends, Eddie, Solemn, Apple, Tori, we love seeing you guys here. And this is my time to remind you that if you haven't yet checked it out, then the Rise Up Discord, it's the place the show lives 24/7. It's the place if you're new to our show, you can get connected, ask us a question, share what you know, meet your next friend in blockchain, and where we will be launching our new cohort style classes soon. You'll be able to go through a series of classes that will introduce you to the community, get you some time with us, and help you become a safe, confident crypto user. So more on that soon. Can we do a quick round, because it's almost that time for final thoughts of news headlines? Let's just talk about what Kraken did. Let's talk about what Robinhood did. And then I would love it if you would tell us, now that we have the information, what we got to be looking for in the bigger macro picture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like from the short of it is Robinhood, you can have staking Solana rewards. You can stake Solana there, right? Also, Robinhood's releasing their layer 2.
Big deal. It's huge, right?
I mean, is it really? Like, you can earn staking? I've talked to everyone getting super excited about this. I'm not really that excited about it. I'm like, you can stake your Solana on Coinbase. You can stake your Solana on Kraken, right? So it's just like Robinhood's offered cryptocurrency for a while. They're just super late to the game. So now they're finally catching up to what the rest of their competitors are doing. So I saw them be like, you can stake Solana. And I went, cool.
Can I catch you up on this, though? Here's how they do this. So first of all, they did what every like crypto or finance company does, and they said, we're announcing an announcement. Be here tomorrow. They like really hyped this thing up. And all day they were tweeting stuff. They had a live stream. They did it like Steve Jobs style. They called it To Catch a Token. And first of all, the first announcement is they're available in all of the EEA. I don't know what the EEA is. It's probably,
I don't know, but I see a lot of flags.
I mean, this is like European compliance everywhere. That's got to be a big deal. Perpetual futures are offered to EU customers by Robinhood Europe and UAB. So perp futures, they're rolling out to the EU. That's like already like a big announcement itself. But then they keep going. Now you can trade crypto in the US on our advanced trading platform, Robinhood Legend. I saw a side-by-side yesterday from 0x DeFi on X, and he was comparing like the trading experience of a stock to a cryptocurrency token on their platform. And his point was like 3 clicks, 30 seconds or less, super seamless. So all these users that Robinhood has, now they can do this with crypto, what they do with stocks. And they've got advanced charting for crypto. They've got some incentives to make people trade crypto there. The more you trade, the lower your rate. They've got a tax planning tool that they rolled out that's now available to 100% of US users. They call their new personalized AI assistant, Cortex, that's going to help you do, stocks, ETFs, and cover news price updates about crypto as well. And then they announced that if you want to earn crypto as a credit card reward, now you can. They're launching crypto auto redemptions for gold credit card users, and their gold card is pretty killer. ETH and Sol staking available to US customers. And now US stock and ETF tokens will be offered to EU customers. So, I mean, it's just like...
No, they did a lot.
And then they topped it all off with, by the way, we're announcing a blockchain. They're building their own chain,
That's a lot. Wait, are they building their own chain, or is it a layer 2? Any idea?
It's a layer 2 on Arbitrum. So my understanding, I didn't see the whole announcement, but Arbitrum itself is a layer 2 network on top of Ethereum. And it can incubate, if you're Sony, they built a layer 2 on top of another layer 2. Basically, it's because Arbitrum is open and anyone can build anything on it. A company like Robinhood can build their own chain that is sort of parallel to it, but in a Robinhood wrapper. So I imagine it's going to have some features that they require for their compliance, but it's the base play. Robinhood is now competing directly with Base and Coinbase in a new, I think, very competitive way. Thoughts?
I mean, it has the same exact formula that made Base successful, minus one thing. Then that example is that you have a ton of users on Robinhood. They can take those users and push them onto their layer 2 pretty easily, just like how Coinbase is pushing people onto Base. The only issue is just like Robinhood has like a really trash reputation. And when Coinbase released Base, they had a better reputation than they do right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think they've been doing some face work. Their CEO has been going around to crypto podcasts, and I have just noticed the sentiment shift in crypto users generally. And it started with when they launched their DeFi wallet, because the number one complaint I heard was you don't really own your assets on Robinhood's platform. You can't do stuff there. And they were like, what?
My number one complaint was the number of times that trading has been halted on their platform on specific assets to do whatever things that got their CEO hauled in front of Congress before, where he had not an ideal showing. So I don't know. I just think they're fucking sketchy.
Yeah, I don't trust their blockchain at all. I just imagine one day, like, they're just going to flip a switch and then trading will be stopped on their blockchain.
Yeah, this is not a company that is interested in doing anything except making as much money as possible. So it's like Will said earlier, they saw base revenue and they're like, yeah, I want some of that. And of course, the sentiment of crypto users are in favor of anyone that they think has the potential to pump their bag. So I don't trust this sentiment shift inside of like the general echo chamber of crypto commentary, just because look at how many things we've championed that are just nightmarishly stupid because we think like, what's this going to do to the price of whatever? And it's like, maybe good, maybe shit. And it's like, well, if it's good, then I like it. And I don't really care about the collateral damage. So to me, I'm just like, I don't know. I struggle so hard to be interested in anything that Robinhood is doing because they're sleazy.
I have a real hard time with that as well. It's my personal tank. Anything that they do, I just kind of ignore. But that's just me. However, what I can't ignore is data. They have a lot of users, a lot of people who just use Robinhood. And good way to get more people on chain. Good for the ecosystem.
Will, you said
There's
something
good and bad.
You said something behind the scenes that you want to talk a little about why the Sol ETF is just
Dog water.
Yeah. Are you talking about this one specifically, or just generally the ETFs that we're supposed to get?
No. I'm not talking generally. A Solana ETF would be a phenomenal solution. That's a spot ETF that offers staking would be phenomenal if it's offered by an investment fund. And the one that's going to go live tomorrow, at least it's supposed to go live tomorrow, unless that changed.
Yeah,
It's being offered by Rex Osprey. It is a Solana spot ETF. It'll be the first one to offer staking. Hey, that's good, great, and grand. It is not offered by an investment fund. It's being offered by a C Corp. And that has a lot of implications for people. So Rex Osprey was able to circumvent basically basically the overwhelming majority of the needed conversation with the SEC and regulators, because by being a C Corp, they're not under the SEC. They're not in that regulatory framework pool. This is not a traditional ETF product. It is an ETF because it is a genuine ETF style product that you can go and purchase, and they will then go and buy Solana ETF and put it on their balance sheet. But here's why it's not a good product. Is one, it's not going to get a lot of adoption because people do not invest in C Corp ETF products in a meaningful way. Also, by them being a C Corp, they don't have access to like a whole bunch of customers to like onboard immediately with that, right? There's not a whole lot of, liquidity.
Yeah.
Easily accessible because they don't have those customers, because those customers go to BlackRock and Fidelity because ETF products issued by them are familiar and trusted because they're governed by the regulatory framework set in place by the SEC and the other regulations that investment firms have to uphold when they release financial products to the market. And so there's no familiarity and no trust with this product. So it's not going to get adopted. But also the product itself is bad because of the tax implications. This is double taxed, and you will be taxed a lot if you have this product, because the company gets taxed because a C Corp gets taxed based on their revenue. And if their revenue is partly coming from yield from Solana, that's that tax there. But you as the investor are also taxed because you have this product that's generating you yield, and you're going to sell it, make a profit, yada, 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 going to get taxed there. But because this is coming from a C Corp, you do not get in-kind redemptions, which is a tax incentive that you get by investing in an ETF product issued by an investment fund. So what's going to happen here is basically you're going to have multiple times throughout the year where you're potentially going to have to report your taxes. And so it's a tax implication headache, and is very well going to eat into the profits that you're going to make on this. So can you get a Solana spot ETF from Rex Osprey? Yes, you can. Are a lot of people going to do it? My personal opinion, no. No, they are not. I do think this is ultimately a good thing, though, because it'll light a fire under the butts of BlackRock and Fidelity and the SEC and Grayscale. I said I said Greystone last night.
Yeah, Greystone. I was like, who the hell's Greystone? New investment idea.
Right? New investment idea.
Watching tomorrow.
But it'll light a fire under all their butts. But this isn't a good product. There are no tax incentives. It's worse for taxes, and it's not trusted, and it's not familiar.
Greystone is like if Family Guy was spoofing BlackRock.
Yeah.
And, like Greystone. That was going to be my question for you. It's like, okay, so that's not exciting, but how big of an impact is it going to have? This is like, I think it's a headline thing. They're trying to get some excitement. They're trying to get some stuff. You mentioned it'll light a fire under BlackRock and everybody else, but what does that shift or change our expectations? What are your expectations for another kind of Solana ETF product, a true ETF product, hitting the market. Does this change them at all?
No, because I think I still think that a Solana spot ETF with staking will outperform the Ethereum ETF.
Me too.
With staking, unless of course BlackRock just works their magic in the background to make sure people go after Ethereum instead of Solana because BlackRock is building on Ethereum. They've experimented with a bunch of chains, but like they're building BUIDL on Ethereum. So the powers that be of BlackRock that make the market might just be using their power behind the scenes to like really push the Ethereum as opposed to Solana. But there's going to be a shit ton of interest because most investors are going to look at Ethereum and Solana as basically the same thing. They're like, oh, that's exposure to the altcoin market, but that one gets me a higher APY. I will choose that one. And that one will be Solana because it's going to have a bigger APY.
Do you think this is telling though about like the timeline? Like it probably isn't going to shift expectations. Like you said, it's lit a fire, but they have a lot of regulatory hoops to jump through probably before they can offer a product to market. I don't think this is going to change it, but do you think, what do you think that timeline is?
So the timeline for Solana, for Solana, it's harder to say because with staking being turned on for the Ethereum ETF, we're looking at somewhere between September to like early November. I think it's the end of October is the last date where the SEC gets to make a decision on, I forget which staking ETF it is. It might be, I forget who it is. But it's one of the big boys. It's one of the big boys.
Yeah.
And so it's really that September to October timeframe. So if staking gets turned on for the Ethereum ETF, maybe that's allowed to run for a little bit. And then at some point after that, you have Solana ETF with staking get turned on, maybe in Q4 at the end of this year, maybe.
Beautiful.
So we'll see. But I think Ethereum is allowed to run on its own for a bit.
Now, the very last sort of like news story, and we can just make it a headline, but we got to mention it, is that Kraken has announced that you can now trade stocks, X stocks, live in their app. 60 US equities are tokenized and tradable. They said 24/5. Were you expecting 24/7? Sorry, pal. 24/5. More coming soon. So it's not every stock, but I think this is going to be interesting as more and more people do this. This is essentially a wrapper, isn't it, guys? Like we were just talking about, where Kraken has got stuff on the back end. They're going to give you, in order to issue a token for this stock, presumably they've got baskets of these stocks. You buy the stock, you get X stock, X Tesla, X whatever, Microsoft. It's a wrapper that can, if they have the liquidity, be exchanged for this token. 24/5 is not that exciting because why wouldn't I just trade the stock? I don't know. Maybe 24 is exciting, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this in terms of it seems exciting, but not as exciting as the whole thing. Like somebody hands you a birthday cake and they just give you a little bite.
It's exciting in the sense that like you see the writing of the wall of what the future is, which is, crypto and stocks are all coming together. Commodities, they're all coming together, right? It's exciting in that sense. And it's nice because like if you're on Kraken and there's a stock you want to trade and that happens to be one of the ones that are available, you don't have to then take your money and just go to the bank account, then take the bank account and go to your Fidelity or whatever, and go through all those hoops and the time it takes to do that. So it's nice, but that's it. I mean, like I would love to on Coinbase, or if on Kraken you can get like Circle and MicroStrategy and Coinbase too. Like I'd love to be able to buy the crypto stocks that I want on the crypto platform too, because like those are the stocks that I'm really, really interested in. So like that would be really, really great. And slowly and eventually you'll have a one-stop shop finally for all of your financial investments. But, I'm like moderate. I'm pretty neutral on it. Neutral, 70% neutral, 30% positive, is when I see that news.
Alex, do you have a take on it?
I don't know. I think I pretty much agree with Will that I think it's cool in the sense that like, hey, it's a new thing. It's more options. It's, I'm a big fan of options. But at the same time, I don't know. I mean, like, would I rather do something stock related with Kraken than I would do something crypto related with Robinhood? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's still a big centralized platform doing stuff. So, like there's pros and cons with that. I've never had reason for like to have been done dirty by Kraken. That's probably the exchange that I use the most. I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. I think that for me, like if I just think about it from my point of view, I always think like, okay, what would it take for me to quit using Charles Schwab as my broker, my main brokerage account, to where I, maintain my Roth IRA or whatever, to switch over to this and do something over there. And I think, like Will indicated, there are various like tax benefits. I don't know. Like, it's just, I would have to think about who's going to tax me the least. Where do I have the most, freedom of movement with money? What can I trade stuff? The interesting part about a crypto exchange like that is if we get to the point where they are allowed to maintain a Roth IRA on my behalf, and it's like, a traditionally respected Roth IRA, but except, this time I can invest in individual cryptocurrencies inside of that same structure, and I'm limited by the annual contribution amounts and stuff like that. That would be super interesting. I'd be all over that probably. But I don't know. In general, I think tokenizing stocks is like the gateway drug to RWAs. It's the one that makes the most sense because it's the thing that we already equate so much of the stuff that we do here with. People just look at cryptocurrencies as shares in crypto companies, and to be honest, it's like, you good?
Yeah, I'm just saying, hey man, we got some of those tokenized stocks over here you want to hit.
Yeah, for real.
I was wondering what was happening there.
It's my impersonation of a gateway drug user.
Oh, nice.
Sorry.
But it's also like the least interesting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. We are about at that time where we got to do final thoughts, but I know that, Will, you've got some business to do. So in light of all this big news and in light of Market Watch Mondays, what are we watching in the broader macro markets this week?
Well, first, quick correction. Coinbase turned off their perpetual trading a little while ago.
What?
Yeah, I can't. I went to go do perpetual leveraged trade. I think it was a short or whatever, like 3 weeks ago, and they're like, "Oh, we turned it off." And I was like,
the drawback of centralized exchanges, right there.
Yeah, I was like,
I was referring to
okay.
a comment I made. I answered someone in the comment to say that Coinbase has perp futures, but I guess
unless they turned it back on and it was just a momentary thing, but they had it turned off. They're like, "Nope, it's turned off." And I was like, "Okay, cool, sweet. I guess I'll go eat a sandwich now." Anyway, but yeah, so Jerome Powell's actually speaking at 9:30 today. Just FYI, he's supposed to give a little bit of insight around monetary policy moving forward. Big shock and surprise if he goes, "I want to see more data come in. I want to see how tariffs affect inflation." La 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 la. I don't expect anything too different from him. I wouldn't expect a whole lot from this week. It's the 4th of July week. A lot of people are taking off. Volumes will be very, 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 very low this week. Don't be shocked to see that. Next week, though, could be very volatile, as July 9th, which is Wednesday, is the day that the tariff delay ends, where if nothing is done and the delay isn't kicked off again, or there aren't some trade deals being done, China's baseline tariffs of 30% rise to 55% or 84%, depending on stacking of existing tariffs. European Union goes from 20% to 40%, depending on country-specific ones. United Kingdom is 10% across the board. Japan, 24%. South Korea, 25%. India, 27%. Taiwan, 32%. Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot of really big increases in tariffs set to go July 9th. Keep your eyes open for news Monday, Tuesday, maybe even Sunday night from the president around that.
Beautiful. I heard you say last night on Market Watch Monday that this is the week to take a break. Next week, lock in.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Beautiful.
And guys, I have to run. I got a business.
Thank you, Will. We love you. We're grateful to you, and we'll catch you soon. Be good people. Make much money.
Do all that.
And you, my friends, are invited to give us your last question, your last suggestion, good joke, word of wisdom, final thoughts. Joseph said, didn't Robinhood pause trading for a while back in 2021? Yeah, and they did it again last year too. And to my knowledge, they're not doing anything about it. This is a feature of centralized exchanges like Robinhood, Coinbase, and Kraken, not a bug. So let us know what you're thinking. Let us know what you're doing this week, what you're looking forward to. And yeah, we've got, as always, a good week of shows. I don't think we have any guests until Wednesday. I do believe that this Wednesday, maybe it's next Wednesday, that Evan McMullen is joining us. stay tuned for more on that. But I've got a lot of folks coming from the conference into my inbox to try and schedule appointments, including Cam that I moderated a panel with over at NFT NYC. We co-hosted it with Eddie talking about stablecoins. Cam is at Rad TV, and they are working on bringing more intellectual property on chain in a really cool, fun way. Dustin asked, when is the morning show? Is it every day? And the answer, Dustin, is we are live Monday through Thursday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for Rise Up After Dark. And now Market Watch Mondays is live 7 p.m. every Monday with Suits and Satoshis and Von, aka Will and Doug. And you can catch all the recordings on your favorite podcasting platform, Twitter or YouTube. Get all the official links at the riseupmorningshow.com. Shout out to Jeff Rascal, who says, got my new mug. Thank you for that too. You can find the Rise Up Morning Show mug also at the riseupmorningshow.com. Get them while they last, because we did one season. The season 1 mug is retired on my shelf. This is season 2. And one of these days we'll have a little switch over to season 3, get a new mug. New show, new mug. Maybe we got to get a Market Watch Mondays mug. Damn.
New show, new mug.
New show, new mug. I'm bullish. And we got to get a new logo for them too.
New logo, new theme song.
Oh, man. There's so much exciting stuff happening. The show is about to blow up, you guys, in the sense that we're building out the Circle community where everybody's going to be able to gather and live. It'll be a less painful experience than
I think we'll have people in there pretty soon. It's coming together. My personal goal is the end of this month, we're going to be in there. We're going to be hanging out, talking, and then hopefully the end of next month, we'll have our first cohort for people to learn live with us. And if folks haven't heard us talking about it, Dustin asked about like when the show is live, but that's where the show lives 24/7. We've got courses you can take. We've got lots of different forums you can participate in to see, for example, the tutorials that Matthew did about how to use Katana. And I'm sure he's going to be updating that as mainnet is live. And we've got, just so much stuff. We've got premium memberships you can try there. We've got courses, recordings. We've got office hours with all of us if you want to ask a question, but it doesn't cost a thing to come hang out, meet your new crypto best friend there. Learners at all levels of experience, we often say. The only thing missing is you. Monday night, the show is at 7 p.m. Central. So there you go. Alex, I know you're in the chat here. Do we have any good final questions before we ride our dogs and ponies off into the sunset, my brother? We got one that I'll make my final thought here.
Okay, beautiful. Man, I miss doing that.
Stall. I know, right?
And while he does that, let me say to you, truly, I have missed you. Thank you for being the very best part of what we do. And Alex, man, didn't it feel good to say, good now, revolutionaries? Doesn't that feel good in your mouth?
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to Evan, I think I batted a solid 3. So, it was pretty good. But I'm very glad that you did.
Hey, man, if Delta hadn't gotten me home, then you would have been taking some more swings at that bat.
These pests.
Would have just canceled it in perpetuity. Like, I refuse. I'm on strike until Delta gets Evan home.
No, man, thank you for holding down the fort. You guys did a really great job, and we'll have those episodes up soon. So what's your final question and your thought from the audience?
We didn't address it today, but there was a question just now, and this is we can cover it again tomorrow. So first of all, before I say this, do not panic. You have time. And even if you ran out of time, it still wouldn't be the end of the world. This is not that big of a deal. We're just all freaking out because it's crypto and we love to freak out about everything. Ledger is ending support for the Nano S.
Oh,
I don't know how to sell this thing.
oh no.
Okay. First of all, it's important to recognize that every single hardware company in the world does this with all of their products because they need you to keep buying new shit. So the reason that you have to get a new cell phone every few years is because of this exact phenomenon. The reason that you have to get new laptops and new TVs and new everything is because things become outdated. Tech and hardware needs to be upgraded. They've got to compete with the rest of the market. It's not as good anymore. They have made enough advancements to where blah, 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 whatever. People don't have that in their head with crypto products because we just got them. But the exact same thing that happens with your iPhone is going to happen with your wallet. And there's nothing weird about it at all. It is pretty much just because Ledger needs to sell more wallets and not because of any crazy security flaw or whatever. So you can get all of the information about exactly what is losing support from Ledger's main social media channels and their website. You can upgrade to a new device and import the same wallet over to the new device. The one thing that I would definitely say is do not rush into anything. You have time. There's no need to like panic and do anything hasty, because this is going to be a target for scammers to send you stuff and say like,
Big time.
Careful, quick, click this to secure your whatever, because you're going to lose everything that's on a Ledger Nano S. You're not going to lose anything. You could literally fall out of a tree and go into a coma for the next 15 years in theory, and wake up and have realized that all of these devices are no longer supported, and that wallet would still exist, and you can just import it into a device that is supported, and you don't need to worry about it. So the worst thing that's going to happen is you won't have software support for that particular device. But even if you sleep through the whole thing and you miss it, and you tune back in next year and the support is long ended, you just import the wallet to a new device that is, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, it's just hitting a ceiling on what's coming. It's like sort of saying, you'll be able to use it the ways that you do right now, but blockchains are going to continue to upgrade. New chains will be launched. They will just not support those updates. So you wake up, Rip Van Winkle, you'll still have access to your private key, your seed phrase, your device. They just won't support updates.
Yeah, it's very important to say that this is being blown out of proportion. So this is not a big deal at all. Like if you think about it, it's weird that it hasn't happened already, because we've had a lot of these wallets for years and years and years. And it's crazy to me that like we in crypto thought we were going to get hardware that was never going to need to change, that would never need to be updated. Like that's an insane thing to think.
And even if it was a company that didn't have like a profit motive to do it, like shout out to them. They've been better than Apple has, a new phone every year. But like it's innovation. We got to have hardware that keeps up. And honestly, did you see that they released the card as like a backup? My secret sneaky suspicion is, after what Adam Lowe said, I think a chip in a card might become the new like industry standard. I think it might be the most secure like cold storage that we have right now. And Ledger is trying to like softly, sneakily move their product in that direction. It's my suspicion.
Yeah, Keith, I saw the comment here about withdrawing. It's very important. You do not need to withdraw anything.
Yeah.
Okay, please don't get the withdraw word out of your mind.
That's right.
This is where the scams are going to come from. There is no need to withdraw anything. There's no need to transfer anything. There's no need to like do any of this. All right. Like this is literally just, hey, this device is no longer going to be supported on the software. Just get a new device and import the wallet. Boom, done. Whole thing is over. And yeah, withdrawing support, like I said, every tech company does this. I don't know. We're not special. The same shit's going to happen here. This is not going to be this is the first. This will not be the last. Ledger is going to open the door on this. I guarantee the Trezor will be right behind it. I guarantee that other ones will be right behind it. Like I said, it's weird that it hasn't happened already. It will continue to happen.
Yeah, and I hate it too.
I'm sorry to say. Yeah, like I'm not saying this because I'm a fan of the practice. I think it's ridiculous. It's mostly just driven by the desire to sell you more stuff. But it's very important that we all understand that this is not a big deal, and that your crypto is not going to get deleted, and you don't have to transfer anything. There's no need to withdraw anything. Just take a deep breath and just kind of, we can talk about it again tomorrow. I'm sure the question will come up again. We're just talking about Ledger canceling support for the original Nano S, but still the Nano X, the Flex, the Stacks, all their new products, all fine. You can get one of those instead. If you want to stick with Ledger, if you want to do a different one, do a different one. There's plenty of options. And then finally, I will also say, because Nani asked about the staking video, I'm extremely behind. And it's mostly because right now I wake up and I appeal about 38 videos that are getting stricken, and I'm in the middle of this whole extortion thing myself. I don't want to give it any airtime, but just know that I'm trying very hard not to get banned. So
it's just stupid.
I'm just getting mass reported every single day, and all my videos are getting flagged and taken down, and I'm just constantly just appealing every single day. Dozens of videos a day.
Sounds like a banana, man.
Yeah, it's super fun. TikTok support has been great. By that I mean non-existent. Fucking useless.
Yeah, that seems like
These pests.
good time to drop a little weeb quickly.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. So GM and GN and Goodnow to everybody except the scammers, because they can go take a hike.
Okay.
That's it, my friends. We've come to the end of another Rise Up morning show, and we will be back same time, same place tomorrow, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time on your favorite social. It's really good to be back. Thank you again, Alex, for holding down the fort, and thank you for being the very best part of what we do. Until next time, everybody stay safe, be well, my friends.